Today is May 28th, 2015, and we are interviewing Randy Billingsley of Rushville, Illinois, at the Masonic Hall in Rushville. And Randy is 69 years old.
Correct.
And he was born on September the 6th, 1945. My name's Michael Smith, and I'll be the interviewer, and Rita Corson will be the court reporter for this interview. We'll start out here with some historical information. Randy, where were you born?
In Beardstown, Illinois.
In Beardstown. And who were your parents, and what were their occupations?
Robert and Harriet Billingsley, and my dad was a farmer at that time.
Okay. Both from Rushville?
Yes.
Okay. And who are or were your siblings?
I have three brothers. Older brother Larry, and younger brother Mark, and then my youngest brother Tracy has passed away.
Okay. Were any of them in the service?
No.
Okay. Was your father in service?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. What were you doing before you went into the service?
I was working at a gas station here in town.
Okay. And what branch of service did you serve in?
In the Army.
Did you, that was during the Vietnam War. Did
Yes.
you enlist, or were you drafted?
I was drafted. I volunteered for it. My name wasn't on the list when all my friends got their letters, and I went up to the selecting service office and asked her, and she said, well, I wasn't on the list. Probably would be later, and I told her to just put my name on it for now. And she did, and I went with everybody else.
Okay, so you kind of enlisted then.
Well, sort of.
I didn't have much choice, I guess.
Yeah.
And what was the highest rank that you achieved when you were in the service?
E5.
E5, okay. And why did you choose the Army?
Well, I just assumed that they were going to choose me, so I went.
Okay.
So they really chose me. I didn't choose them.
So, do you recall your first days of service? No.
Induction, I remember the induction day, there was a Marine Corps sergeant come in the room and said he needed, I think it was 6 volunteers for Marine Corps, and it got real quiet in there. Nobody wanted to go to the Marine Corps.
Nobody volunteered for that.
So he went down the line, 1, 2, 3, you're a Marine. 1, 2, 3, you're a Marine.
You got lucky, huh?
Just went over me.
Where was that at?
That was at, in St. Louis at, what do they call that? Jefferson's Barracks, I think.
Okay, that's the
Where
first
all the
one.
inductees went in, that's where you went.
Okay.
Then from there to Fort Leonard Wood.
How long were you at Fort Leonard Wood?
Just, I think we were just there about a week, and they shipped us out to different places. I went to Fort Carson, my cousin and I, and a lot of my friends from here in town.
You all stayed together?
Yeah,
Okay.
went through basic training, and then after basic, I went to medic training in Texas, and it was just my cousin Clarence and I went
So
to Texas.
What'd you do at Fort Leonard Wood for just 1 week then? Was that
They called it induction week or
orientation type thing?
yeah, where we got all our gear. All our,
Okay. And you had
clothes.
boot camp at Fort Carson, Colorado, though.
yeah.
And then how did you get to be a medic?
Well, after basic, they sent out orders as to where we were supposed to go. I guess I don't know how they picked Clarence and I as medics. I don't know.
You did not volunteer to be a medic?
No.
And he didn't either, huh?
No.
So then you went to
Fort Sam Houston
in Texas.
Texas.
For how long were you there?
I think it was 8 or 10 weeks. Not 8, not 10. I think it says on here. 10 weeks.
Okay.
Metro Foreman.
What, one thing I forgot to ask you, what was the date that you went in?
The date that I went in was November 29th of 65.
1965, okay. And What'd your training consist of in medic school?
Oh, a lot of classroom, and it was really mainly classroom, and we did a little bit of work in the hospital. We went to hospital, but mainly we just worked on each other, give each other shots, and drew blood, and even had to give an enema to each other.
Oh boy. Were you a little, did you feel very confident after that training that you were ready for your job, or were you a little, how'd you feel?
Well, yeah, I felt like I'd learned a lot there, but not ever seen a wounded person before. It was kind of...
Okay. So where'd you go after that?
After that, went back to Fort Carson, and we just hung around Fort Carson there for working in the motor pool, and it was we were probably there a few months, and they hadn't shipped us out anyplace else. That's when Gary Ward and Clarence and I we volunteered to go to Vietnam.
All from out there?
Yeah. I just saw Gary yesterday, and I asked him, I said, whose big idea was it for us to volunteer for Vietnam? He just shook his head. I said, I know it had to be you.
Yeah, okay. So you volunteered for Vietnam, and then how long before you headed out for Vietnam?
Well, it wasn't, I don't remember when we finally got the orders to go, but Gary got his orders sometime probably in August, and then I got mine 2 weeks later, and then Clarence got his 2 weeks after that.
Okay.
So we were 2 weeks apart going over.
So you and Clarence weren't together going over there?
No, I never saw him over there.
Never saw him over there?
He was, I think, in the 1st or the 7th Cav, I believe it was.
Okay. And what unit were you in?
The 2nd or the 12th Cavalry of the 1st Cav.
Okay. So where'd you go then from Colorado?
Went home for 2 weeks and got on a plane and flew to Oakland, and from there over to Pleiku, Vietnam is where we landed.
Pleiku. What'd you think when you landed there?
It was scary when we landed, because the pilot come on and said something about it would probably be a rough landing because of heavy ground fire. They had to drop in, and I remember when that big old plane hit that runway, I thought we were done for then.
Oh,
I don't know what kept it together. It really bounced a few times.
I need to back up just a couple places here. What was it like in boot camp? Was it tough, Rob?
Yeah, it was tough. All the marching and the physical training was tough.
Yeah. How about the food or social life? Did you have?
The food wasn't too bad. I'd always heard stories about how bad it was, and somebody was telling me about all you got to eat was crap on a shingle.
Yeah.
But that was a pretty good meal, really.
Okay.
I just really didn't know what it was.
Right.
Until I got in the Army.
So when you lit over in Vietnam, tell me what.
My first meal over there was sea rations, and it was chopped ham and eggs. And I didn't know how to heat it up or anything, and I ate it cold, and I thought, if this is anything like what it's going to be while I'm here, I'll never survive.
Big adjustment, huh?
But then we showed how to heat up your sea rations, and
okay.
it wasn't too bad. Some of them were pretty good.
I think when I talked to you earlier, you said you ran into Gary Ward as soon as you lit over there.
As soon as I got off the plane. We were standing there in formation, and I looked across where they had some buses parked over there, and there was a guy standing out there with his hands on his hips, and I thought, he sure looks familiar. Got over there, it was Gary. He was shuttling people back and forth from there to the, I guess it was a reception station.
Okay.
And my first detail there was, excuse my language, burning shit.
Oh, it was.
I had to open up the back of the toilets and drag this part of a barrel out and pour, I guess it was diesel fuel in it, and light it on fire and stand there with a big pole and stir it till it burned down.
Was this at Play Coup?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how long were you at Play Coup?
Just a few days. We were just there a few days, and then were put on a plane and flew up to Ankay, and that was where the 1st Cavalry's Ankay, something like that.
Okay. Is that out in the field then? Down away from?
Ankay was a little town, and well, I should have said Camp Radcliffe is what it was called. It was right next to the town of Ankay.
What was the terrain like there?
About like it was all over. There it was hilly. It was called the Central Highlands.
Jungle or open or little both?
Pretty much jungle. It'd be rice paddies just here and there. And then there were other areas that we were in that was just about all rice paddies. Flat ground.
Well, I've got a picture here I want to show in front of the camera, and this was you back then, just to kind of show what you looked like at that time. What was your next, what can you tell me about next and when you got there?
Oh, they give us just a little bit of training there for a few days. Took us out on a patrol out around the perimeter.
Were you with another medic or were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not right then. Not until they sent me out to A Company, who were out on the garden bridges along the highway, Highway 19, I think it was. And I was sent out there to where the medic was at, and with the 2nd Platoon. And he was with me there for a week or maybe a little longer, and he taught me an awful lot that I was going to run into, you know.
Mm-hmm. You had to learn pretty quick though if you were just with him a week or two.
Yeah. He told me things. He said, "Forget everything you learned at Fort Sam." That's one thing he told me. You have to do this and you do this. And
Did you deal with any wounded while you were with him?
No.
No. Okay. So after that, what'd you do?
Well, the day or so after he left, he was going back home, and that was when I saw my first Wounded Day. It was a truck coming out from base camp with meals on it, and they got ambushed on the way out. And I can't remember if there was 2 or 3 of them with the truck, but only one of them survived. And
Did you go out to the scene then, or did they bring
no, they brought him in.
Okay.
They brought him up to the bridge where I was at, and he was pretty much a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And
was he still alive?
yeah, he was still alive. Had several wounds, legs, arm, on his side, I remember, and I can remember the smell. Everybody always told me that blood didn't didn't have a smell to it, but I guess it's probably the mixture of blood and sweat, and it's something you don't forget.
Okay. You tried to patch him up?
Yeah, I bandaged him up as best I could, and then we put him on a helicopter, but whether he survived or not, I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't even know who he was.
Did you run into that quite a bit where you bandaged him up, shipped him out, and you never knew what happened to him then?
Yeah, lots of them
Lots
were
of
that way.
You told me earlier you never really worried about getting shot. You worried more about being able to, well, you tell the camera what you worried about.
I was always, when somebody yelled medic, the only thoughts that were going through my mind were what am I gonna do for him when I get there, what the wound gonna be like. And I never really thought about the shooting, because somebody was always yelling at me to get down, Doc, they're shooting at you. My worst fear over there was being captured, being a POW.
Oh, really?
That was my fear.
Did you see that happen any?
No,
No.
it could have happened to me a couple of times
Oh,
on different occasions.
you want to go into detail on that at all? Or?
Well, one time we were in a village, and I don't remember if there was some snipers or booby traps or what, but there was two companies of us there, and they told me they needed me at the other end of the village. There was somebody hurt, and the medic needed help there. So I went up there. There must have been a miscommunication, because my company took off. And by the time I got up there in that village, the helicopter was taking off, and everybody there was heading out on foot. And so I headed back to the village. And it was starting to get dark, and I got to the other end of the village, and there wasn't anybody there, except Vietnamese. And I was pretty sure which way they went. And so I took off down that road, and I went past this one hill. There was a trail going up it, and I went past it, and there was a big rice paddy there, and I didn't see anybody there, so I went up the hill. I got about halfway up the hill, and I caught up with them.
So you're a little worried about getting caught at that time?
Yeah. I had a few words with the company commander over that.
Sure. Did you, as a medic, were you armed?
Yeah, carried it. Well, I started out with an M16, but I lost it in a rice paddy, and I come up with a 45 from somebody that was probably wounded, I guess.
Okay.
And so I carried that 45 the rest of the time.
You told me about some of the booby traps. And you want to talk about some of that?
Yeah, they most of the time they'd use hand grenades, and on the roads and stuff they would use bombs that they found that didn't go off when they dropped them out of planes.
Okay.
They put them on the roads. Excuse me.
You said something. You told me something that I'd never heard. You talked about butterfly bombs. What were those?
Those were bombs that they drop out of airplanes. That they drop a canister of them out, and it would open up, and they all fall out. Yellow bombs about this big around, about like a hand grenade. And they had little wings like on the top of them, and they would get, I guess somebody told me that those would get caught together, and those would drop and not go off. Well, the BC would take them and make booby traps out of them.
Okay.
The ones that I saw one that had three tied together in a thicket of bamboo, with a trip wire running over to this building, because I started to walk through there. And I either had forgotten something and turned to go back, and then a little bit later somebody said, well, look at this. I was probably about that far from tripping it.
Oh my.
And that same day somebody did trip one in the other end of the village, that the other medic, Dallas Crump, and we worked on him. He only had about 3 bandages in his aid bag. We used those, and then all of them that I had on, wrapping him up from his foot clean up to his head. The whole side of him was a mess.
Did he make it, or
No, he didn't.
He didn't make it. Okay.
Let somebody come back and said that he was dead, died on the helicopter.
Okay.
They thought on the helicopter.
While you were over there, you received a Bronze Star for Valor, and I'd like for you to tell us about that story.
That was the day in the cemetery when the company commander died that day there. We come across this cemetery and got to the edge of it where there's a big rice paddy and then like an island out there in the middle of it. And we got some sniper fire, so we started an assault across the rice paddy, and about the time a lot of us got out in the rice paddy, they opened up with automatic weapons, and we all tried to get back into the cemetery. There were several that didn't make it. That's where I lost my M16. I was trying to drag this DeWitt, I believe was his name, out, and I guess I laid it down and somebody stepped on it and shoved it down in the mud. It's probably still there today, maybe.
Could be.
They plowed it up with.
But you were trying to drag out a wounded
Yeah.
comrade. And,
Yeah, that and my pack. It was still in the rice paddy.
with your medical supplies in it?
No, I never let go of that.
Oh, okay.
That stayed with me all the time.
So go ahead with that story then.
Oh, there was shooting going on, and they were calling artillery in there, and every now and then they'd holler medic, somebody would get hit down the line there. But we were trying to stay behind those mounds of sand in that cemetery, and I don't remember how many got hit. Sergeant Madden got hit, and King, he died. Oh, there was another sergeant that was killed, and Hatfield was killed, and then they called for me, and I run down. I had to go all the way down the edge of that cemetery to Rutger, who had been hit. I thought he was hit twice. He had a bullet wound here and one here. But I got him bandaged up, and a couple weeks later somebody got a letter from him saying that he was just shot one time. A round went right through here. He come out right back here, and he lost a tooth and had stitches.
I'm surprised.
Plus he had a hole in his cheekbone here. And then that's when I got knocked down that day. Oh, when I was over Rutger trying to bandage him up.
Was that your
I got hit right here.
Was that your commander, or was that another man?
No, that was just Rutger. He was a rifleman there.
Okay.
And I fell over backwards, and I'm laying there thinking, this is it, just burnt like crazy. And pretty soon I was breathing, I was breathing okay, but I couldn't feel my feet or my legs, but I had my feet were back underneath me. I guess that's why I couldn't feel them. I thought the bullet went clean through me and paralyzed me or something. And I raised my head up and I pulled my shirt up, and there was just a little red spot right here. And then I felt burning in my hand, and I let go, and my chest started burning again. I pulled my shirt up. I had this piece of shrapnel about this long. Well, it was about that big, kind of jagged, that was sticking right through my shirt here, my field shirt. And I took it and I stuck it in the thing on my helmet. I kept it for a long time until I lost it.
Oh my.
And then somebody yelled medic again, and I got up and took off. And I just taken about one step, and my right foot just went out to the side, and I went down on my face. And when I wiggled my foot around, my foot felt a little funny, a little numb, but I didn't think I'd been shot. I found out later, I looked at it, and I had a chunk of rubber going out of the heel of my boot. Somebody could come pretty close.
I guess.
So I got up and took off again, and I went about 20 yards, and they were dropping some heavy artillery shells or something over there. And I put my chin strap on my helmet because I'd lost it once already, falling off. And something hit me right here in the top of that helmet, and my feet went out in front of me, and I went down on my back, and it was like somebody taking a big hammer and hitting you on top of your helmet. It just dazed me, I reached up and I put my hand up here, and had a big place cut out of the top of my helmet like a pork and bean can.
Whoa.
So I got up and took off again, and something hit me in the side right here, and I went down.
How much time was all this happening?
Just not very long.
Boom, boom,
Probably
boom.
when I got hit with that piece of shrapnel on my helmet, I was just laid there for just a couple of minutes, I think, and I was up and gone. Because they were yelling at me, "Doc, stay down, they're shooting at you." And that's when I got hit right here, and I went down, and I'm laying there, my hip hurt real real bad, and I felt this worm running down between my legs, and I thought it was blood, and I reached down, felt, and raised up and looked, and it wasn't blood. I thought, well, I've wet myself or been shot through my bladder or something. But it didn't smell like that, and I started to roll over, and I took my canteen and moved it, and I felt a jagged hole in it, and I shook it, and it was empty, and I had lemonade in it, and that's what that was, running, warm lemonade running down. By the time the day was over with, I was just scalded from that sticky lemonade.
Wow.
And the bullet that went through an ammo pouch that I had a little camera in, went through it and hit my pistol belt right here on my hip bone, I guess. And that was just enough, I guess, to glance it off. And I had a big bruise for a couple of days, but
You talk about lucky.
yeah, several times that day. And then I got back, that was the captain that was hit then, and I got back to him, and he'd been hit down here low in his stomach, and
With a mortar or shot?
no, shot. And I got a bandage on him, and I hollered. There was a helicopter coming in, medevac, across the rice paddy, and I hollered it. Said I needed help to get him out of there, and Griffith and two other guys. One was a Smith, and I think maybe Hildebrand. Come over and we got a hold of him and took off, and we didn't go about 20, 30 yards, and from somewhere, I don't know where, I still don't to this day understand just where those shots come from, but it was an automatic weapon, and Griffith was hit in the back of the shoulder, and Captain was hit again in the chest this time, and one of them shot just grazed here along his head, through his ear, and the other one was hit right through the bridge of his nose. And I got them bandaged up, and
Just daylight or dark?
this is daylight. And then we didn't even get to go across that rice paddy after we stayed in that area there for a couple of days, and then they pulled us back about a mile and called in B-52s to bomb it. We're all laying in this big ditch back about half a mile or a mile from there, and you could hear those B-52s up there, but you couldn't see them. You know, we're just laying there thinking, I hope they know where they're supposed to be dropping these bombs. And pretty soon the ground was just shaking. They blew that hole. I don't know if it was a village. Might have been a little village of some kind. They just blew it up, and we didn't even go back there.
But that second shot on your captain killed him, is that correct?
Yeah.
So there's another story I want you to tell us about, and that's your friend Sammy. And I think you said that happened on Thanksgiving Day. Is that
No.
right? Or is that right? I had written down that.
No, it was earlier than that. It wasn't Thanksgiving Day. No, this was in '67. I want to say February.
Okay.
I should know because I've heard him say it several times. He always remembers that day. But they went out they were on what they call a listing post. There was just 3 or 4 of them went out, and then they didn't go out but about 100 yards along the side of this trail. But
This was after night, right?
yeah, this was dark. They'd go out at night. We had the perimeter set back here on the top of a hill there. And then there was an ambush that went out further out to set up an ambush. And I don't remember for sure. I know I was in my tent laying down. Might have been midnight maybe. And I remember hearing the shooting. And I thought that somebody on the perimeter was shooting with an M16, because it's what it was a M16. It wasn't an AK-47. And you could tell the difference very clearly. And about a little bit later, the guys that were on the listening post, they come back in, all of them but Sammy. And then they called the ambush guys that was on ambush back in too, and they come back in, and Bert Mounts was head of one squad. He wanted to know where Sammy was at. And somebody said, well, he's still out there. And Bert took off down that hill, and then there was a couple of guys went after him and went down, and they brought Sammy back in. Bert was carrying him, had him wrapped up in a poncho, and they laid him down there on the side of the hill, and I got below him on the hill, and I rolled the poncho off of him, and the blood inside that poncho ran out. It just soaked my pants from my knees down. And he was hitting both legs, both arms, and I thought the neck, because I thought there were 7 wounds. And I got to see him. Well, I saw him this year and last year at a reunion down in Florida, and he said that he was hit 9 times. They saved the bullets for him, but he said somewhere along the line he lost them that was still in him.
Oh my.
But he was hit right here in the shoulder. This arm is kind of crippled, but he had a lot of blood on his neck, and I thought there was a wound there. I put a bandage around there. They probably thought back at the hospital that guy couldn't see. Well, it was dark.
Right.
You couldn't tell where anything was at without feeling, which you were always told to keep your dirty hands out of the wound, but that was the only way to find him sometimes. And he was hit 9 times, and was in the hospital for, let me say, a couple of years, I think. Different surgeries. And
when you put him on the chopper, you thought he was dead?
I thought he was dead. I didn't see how he could.
I mean,
He was conscious when they brought him back in, because he was really moaning and hollering out, and he wasn't when we carried him down there to the chopper. And
so, do you feel comfortable talking about how you think he got shot?
yeah, I think it was one of our own men that shot him. I think he crawled off away from everybody to go to the bathroom and was crawling back, and this one of the other guys that was there just emptied the whole clip on him. And yeah, I think Sammy knows that, but he doesn't want to admit to it or put the blame on somebody. Because I don't know, the kid was scared, and thought there was somebody crawling up on him.
And you thought he was dead until you had a reunion and you saw him there, right?
Yeah, they contacted me, what was that, 2 years ago. I got a card in the mail, wanted to know if I was Doc Billingsley. And it laid around the house there for, I don't know, a couple months. My wife asked me about it every day. You call that guy yet? Because I didn't really remember the name of Tony Olivero. And I finally called it one day. And he was in my outfit. I think he might have been there when I first got there, and then went home shortly after I got there as well. I probably don't remember him very well. But he was telling me the guys that were there at the last year's reunion, and he mentioned Sammy Smith, and I said, we have 2 Sammy Smiths in the outfit? He said, no, it was just one. I said, well, it couldn't be Sammy. Sammy didn't make it. He said, oh yeah, he was here. And then after we talked for a long time there on the phone, and they were planning the next reunion, and after he hung up, it wasn't 10 minutes, and I got a call from, well, the first call I got was from Chuck Engel. Chuck he said, this Doc? I said, yeah. He said, he thanked me for saving his life. He about lost his leg. That was another time. And And it was after I talked to him a while. About 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. It was Sammy. I just couldn't believe it. And then when I got to see him that following year at the reunion, he was the same old Sammy, acted just like he did. And he got along pretty good. His legs were just, he wore shorts and his legs were just a mess. Scars all up and down him. His arms, and then this hand didn't work very good. It was just, he could wiggle his fingers and his thumb. That's about all.
Well, tell me, you learned something else from him too, when you were going across that rice paddy, right?
Oh, yeah, we were in an area by a place called LZ Bird. And we were along this river, and it was monsoon season, rained every day, and the river come up and we couldn't get out. It surrounded us. Helicopters were trying to land out there in shallowest places, and it was Sammy and Bert and a couple others headed out to this one helicopter, and I'm walking along through water up to my chest, and I step off in a foxhole. And my first thought was I stepped off the edge of the riverbank, and I was, I knew I was gone. I was splashing, had my pack and everything on. And pretty soon somebody had me by the back of my pack or my shirt and pulled me up out of there. And I didn't know it till I was talking to Sammy there that it was him that pulled me out. Because we was talking about at the reunion about silly things that happened, and I was talking about walking off in that foxhole. I said, somebody pulled me out there, and Sammy said, that was me that pulled you out there.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Did you encounter snipers over there?
Yeah, we were all the time somebody getting hit from a sniper. Or we even had a scout dog with us one time with a handler. They would walk out. They'd walk on point when we were on our search and destroy missions, as they called them. And the scout trainer or handler, whatever you call him, he got hit. And I got up to him, and the dog was laying across him and wouldn't let me to him. Just growl and snarl and start to jump at me, and I'd back up and I crawled on up beside him. I could see where he was hit. That it wasn't anything I could do for him.
Yeah.
And they called another handler, and they brought him out, and he got the dog, took the dog back. And the body.
Yeah. You saw a lot while you were over there.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how many battles you were in on? Would you even have a guess?
I wouldn't dare to guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was just a sniper firing a few rounds, and then other times it was sometimes a 2-day thing. Where it was shooting, bombing.
You talked to me the other day when I visited you about, I know it's hard for you to talk about, but when you had to go in these villages. You want to talk about that some?
Yeah, some of them were friendly villages. You could always tell that if it was a friendly village, there was usually not hardly any men there. They were all gone or dead or what, I don't know. Or just VC that run off, maybe, I don't know. But they would all come out and greet you, the women and the kids, and they was always happy to see you. But you go get to a village and you see some people, but by the time you get in the village, they're all gone. And that's where you usually run into booby traps and snipers in there. And they'd go through, and we'd go through there, and if we had any sniper fire or anything, and they'd blow up all of the bomb shelters and bunkers that would be in the village, which they all had, pretty much. And but most of the time it was only civilians that was down in the bunkers, which they'd go down and check it out and then come out and say, "Doc, you better go down there." And I'd have to go down and sort out the mess. And that's most of the time there wasn't anybody alive in there. But one, they sent me down in. Just before I went in, there was a young boy that come out and had small shrapnel wounds on him and blood was running down his ears, and he took off running. I don't know if they caught up with him or not. But there was a young girl there, I would guess at 10, 12 years old, that I had my flashlight shined and I seen she had been cut open. Her stomach, her intestines were hanging out the side, and I got her scooped up as best I could and crawled up out of there, and she had her right foot, just looked like it had been chopped off about halfway up. Wasn't even bleeding, just barely bleeding. I guess it was from the heat from the shrapnel or whatever. It cauterized everything. And it looked like a surgeon had just took a scalpel on it and opened her up across her belly, and all of her intestines were out here to the side. They didn't seem to be broken. There wasn't hardly any blood. And I know you can't put them back in because I tried. Just the best thing I could do. I got the biggest bandage that I had, and I got it under them and got it pulled up over, and I think I had somebody help me run the straps of the bandage under her and got them tied, and well, I bandaged the foot up too, and she laid there on the ground looking up at me with this horrified look on her face, and never whimpered once or I remember seeing a tear running down her face here. It was like she wasn't in any pain even.
Wow.
So it was pretty tough.
They take her out?
Yeah. Whether they were able to do, I guess they could repair that, get that all back in. And
she may have survived. Yeah.
Like I said, there wasn't hardly any blood, which was
just something you'll never forget.
No.
And that kind of leads me up to the last day you told me about in the field. And I don't know if you feel comfortable.
No, they're about the same situation. This guy had fired this law rocket into the entrance of this bunker, and somebody went down and come out. Said, "Doc, you need to go down there." So I don't know. There wasn't much reason for me to go down because everybody was dead in there. I got down there, I had my 45 in one hand and my flashlight, and I leaned around this corner and shined the light in there, and I remember seeing this eye looking at me. I just fell back. And I thought, well, what did I see, And I get ready again, and I shined around there, and there was this old woman that was just kind of plastered up against the wall. And right where this eye was, it was just a big hole, and this eye was wide open, her mouth was wide open, and I crawled on in there, and there was 2 more women in there that were dead, and then there was that little baby laying there, and I picked the baby up and carried it out, and that's where I think I laid my 45 there and my flashlight, because I couldn't find them later at all. Then I laid that little baby down on a little mat there, and was checking it over and had my hand under his head, and I could see a wound on it anywhere. And I tried reviving it, and I finally started to slide my hand out from under his head, and it was wet. And I turned his head a little bit, and it had a big hole in the back of his head. This little baby was, I don't know, a year or 2 old, something like that. And this little head was like you take a hard-boiled egg and crack it, roll it, you squeezed the head a little bit, and that's what it felt like. The skull was just in pieces. Oh, that's when I saw, we picked up 2 old men there in the village, and they had them tied up by this little building there with their hands behind their back. They were squatted down, and the one on the left was smiling at me.
When you came out with that baby?
Yeah. And I just kind of lost it there, I guess. I remember looking for my .45. I didn't have it. I don't know. To this day, I don't know where it's at. Whether I left it down that hole, I don't know. And that was September the 6th. It was my birthday. And the next memory that I really had was they took me back to base camp, and it was the 8th when I got back, but I don't remember anything from the 6th. Hardly till when I got, well, I can remember getting on a helicopter. I was the only one on it, and it took off. I think the only thing I had with me was my aid bag, which was empty. There wasn't hardly anything in it. And it flew, and I didn't know where it was going, and then I finally saw, I could see Camp Radcliffe, and we flew over the airstrip up on the hill where headquarters company was, and landed, and the machine gunner there told me to get off. And I got off, and there was somebody standing out there. Helicopter left, and it was the company clerk back at the headquarters company. He said, you're at base camp. I said, yeah, I know. I said, I just don't know why. And he said, I guess they thought you'd seen enough. And I remember telling him, yeah, I could have told him that a long time ago.
Right.
And that was, I spent till the end of the month, and from the 8th to the end of the month, I stayed there at the aid station which I was the only one there for the rest of my time there.
So that you were within a month of getting out when they rushed out of there on the 6th of September?
A little less than a month. But,
right.
Yeah. And I stayed there until it was time to go home. And I remember the day that there was a truck come by there to pick me up to take me down to the airfield. The company clerk said, he come out and stopped me. He said, come back a minute. He said, I got something for you. And that's when they give me my medals, my air medal, and my 2 Bronze Stars. Give them to the company clerk, gave them to me. Everybody else got theirs. They'd have a formation, and a colonel or somebody would come. But I got mine from the company clerk.
So you got to leave Vietnam then?
Yeah.
Where did you go, and how'd you get there?
I got out then, because if you had less than 90 days to serve, they let you go home rather than reassign you. So flew from there went back to Oakland, Army Terminal, and I was there for a couple of days. I had to listen to them try to get me to re-enlist. And drew what pay I had coming, and left there and flew home.
I think you told me a little bit about something in an airport there.
Oh yeah, they told us not to leave the Army Terminal there on foot, especially at night by yourself, because you'd get rolled down the road somewhere. So I was waiting around out there in the parking lot, and there was a taxi pulled in. There was some black guys that were one of them was in my company, but I didn't know his name or anything. And they hollered at me, wanted to know if I needed to ride to the airport. I said, sure. So we split the fare with the taxi and went to the airport, and I remember we went up to the counter, and the one guy said, we want the first thing smoking for Chicago, he said. So we all got our tickets, and we went to get a drink. Went down at the airport, down in this little bar there we went in, and I walked up and I think I ordered a whiskey and Coke or something like that. And I said, give these guys what they want. And the bartender said, I can serve you, but I can't serve them. And I just kind of got me. And it kind of got, there was I think it was a Marine Corps First Sergeant sitting over across on the other side of the bar, and he banged his fists on the table and stood up and yelled at the bartender and said, "You will serve them." And I can't remember what else was said. But I think I went ahead and got my drink, and they left. The black guys left. And
Were they in uniform?
yeah,
Yeah,
we were all in
wouldn't serve.
uniform, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think I saw them after that. Well, one of them was on the same plane with me, I think. I sat beside one of them on the way home to Chicago.
So when you got back home, you got to Chicago, then you got back here to Rushville from there, I assume. Is that correct? Did anybody meet you in Chicago, or how'd you get down here?
I flew into Springfield, and my mom and dad and my wife, and I think one of my brothers was there. One or two of them were there to meet me at the airport.
How were you received by your family and the community?
I didn't have any problems. Nobody really asked me any questions that I can remember.
Did anybody thank you for your service back then much?
No,
No.
not until just a few years ago. I noticed people coming up to me, and if I had my hat on about Vietnam or about the first Cav, and thanked me for my service. But that's just been the last few years.
How did you readjust when you first got back?
Oh, drank a lot.
We heard
Did
that
for
from the
about-
last guy.
About 20 years of it.
Hmm.
And I used to have a lot of problems sleeping, bad dreams, and
Sure.
still have occasion to have one of those every now and then.
So has the VA helped you with that any?
Yeah,
There-
I was seeing the girl down in Quincy there at the VA until she got transferred someplace else, and I went to Galesburg. So Jane Fitch was her name. We took a lot of sessions with her, and I just had a appointment this last week with Dr. Crow from out of Iowa City, the psychiatrist,
Mhm.
and
Does it seem to help you some?
yeah, I think so. And he told me that he thought that I should go back and see Jane at Galesburg
Sure.
some more.
So do you belong to any veterans organizations, Randy?
The American Legion.
American Legion. And what did you do when you got back for a living?
I sat around for a couple of weeks, and my dad come and picked me up and took me over to Oscar Mayer. Said, you need to go here and get you a job." So I went there and I worked Oscar Mayer for about 20 years, and then they sold out, and I worked for Cargill there for about 10 months, and then I got on with USDA, and they offered me a position in Florida, and that's when I packed up and went to Florida.
What did you do for USDA?
Started out in chicken plant, inspecting chickens.
Huh. Okay.
And then after a few years of that, I got promoted up to, they started out as a GS5 and went up to an 8. And then I got, I put in for an import inspection through USDA. And I got that, and the rest of my time there, I served in Jacksonville at inspecting meat and poultry from overseas.
You got married after you got back? How long?
Got married before I went over.
Oh, you got married before you went over?
Yeah.
How did your wife adjust to you when you got back? Was it pretty tough?
Yeah, my drinking got to be a big problem, but we stayed together, and I didn't let it affect my work. If I was feeling bad from being hungover, I went to work anyway. I put in a lot of rough days on Monday mornings usually. But
how do you feel that the military experiences have affected your life?
oh, I don't really know. be one to help people. You know, anytime I see somebody hurt or a car wreck, I can't go by. You know, I have to stop.
Sure.
But I've never really had to. Oh, I worked the ambulance crew
Oh, okay.
here in town, Ronnie Shepherd and I, for a while, and I decided I didn't want to see any more of that. I knew just eventually I was going to have to go to Iraq around here somewhere where it was family, or so I quit that.
Well, what message would you like to leave for future generations that are going to look at your interview here?
Well, if they have to go to the military, go to war, to keep their head down and don't step where anybody else is not stepped.
Okay, pretty good advice. Is there anything we haven't discussed that you'd like to discuss?
Oh, there's a lot of stories. The one where I said that Chuck Engel was hit that night, and I got him bandaged up, and 2 or 3 guys or so carried him back to where the rest of the company was. This was at night. We were going to try to get some guys from another outfit that were pinned down in a rice paddy, and after we got Chuck out and we went on, there were 6 or 7 of us left. We went on and walked right into an ambush. They had an automatic weapon set up on the trail, and everybody got hit but me. There was a tree right there by this trail, and the only thing I can figure how I kept from getting hit, I must have been partially behind that tree. Because the guy behind me, Matzel, he was hit. Hart was laying over here, he was dead. Stevens, the radio man, was unconscious here. Lieutenant Jones was hit in the hand and in the chin. Matzel was hit right in the hip joint. Sergeant Cole and Putney were up here. They were both hit. They were right on the gun when they started firing. Sergeant Cole was hitting the arm and the shoulder, and Putney was hitting, I think, both hands. Or both arms. But by the time I got to them, they had themselves already bandaged up. I don't know how they did it with those wounds like that, but I started to go to Matzel, and he said, go on up front. They need you up there. And he bandaged himself up. He was hit across his chin and right through here, I think it was. So I crawled on up and to Hart, and I seen that he was gone. And then I went over to Stevens, and I thought he was dead. He had blood on the back, but he was just grazed and knocked out. He was out about, I don't know, half hour or so. And I got to the lieutenant, and like I say, he was hit in the hand and the jaw, and then there was an illumination round went off, and I looked on up the trail, and I seen everybody was down. I knew I was the only one left. And I grabbed the radio, the handset, and it was only half there. I think the lieutenant was talking on the radio, because I could remember hearing him, just before that, hearing him saying something about, we can't see where we're going. He was telling them, because he wanted to turn around and go back. And the thing on the handset, whatever you call it,
The button you key it with?
Yeah, it was there. So I keyed it and called for help, but I didn't know if anybody was hearing me on the other end. I kept sending a message by like Morse code. I can't remember what it was.
They weren't shooting at you anymore, though?
No. Just, there was a few more shots after that, because I seen some of the enemy running back over to where these buildings were. And I got them, tried getting them back out of there myself, and it wasn't about, I don't know how long it would have been. Seemed like hours, might have been minutes before the rest of the company got there to help us. And,
Sounds like you were awful lucky more than once over there.
Yeah, that night I just had to sit down there. I couldn't even walk afterwards. I couldn't stand on my own feet. This one, I was trying to help Mighton, and I couldn't hold him up. And this one, the Captain Hightower was there. I didn't know who it was. I just grabbed somebody and yanked him over where I was at and said, "Get a hold of him. I can't do this." Something like that, I told him. It was the captain I was yanking around.
You were just wore out, huh?
Yeah, just
trying to help too many people.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think that kind
was
of
a rough night.
that sounds like you had a lot of rough nights, and I think that kind of wraps it up. I want to, on behalf of everyone, thank you for your service. Sorry we didn't get you thanked sooner for what you went through. You deserved it, and the medics, not a real good job to have. Does it sound like it?
No, when I got over there, they told me I'd only spent 6 months in the field. And after I'd been there about 9 or 10 months, I found out the reason they said that was the life expectancy of a medic was 6 months. They didn't tell me that at the time.
That had to have a toll on you.
Yeah, from then on, I was just really watching where I stepped.
Right. Well, thank you, and we've got it preserved now, so your story's here, and other people can watch it, and I'm sure other people will be thanking you for what you did for us. And the Vietnam vets deserve that thanks because they didn't get it back then when you came home.
No, we didn't.
And that wasn't right, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.